because you know if it's Tuesday, it's all about the docket. And today is a full house. Edwin Obuya, Philip Mruto, Fanyamambo Kenodia, all in the house, folks, to talk about the news that's making headlines. Obuya is saying, we start on a sad note.
As an industry, I've lost one of the veterans. Kwach has left usiku wa leo, kuamkia leo. And so we just say that to the family and friends, we wish them the very best and pray that Edward Kwach rests in eternal peace.
Absolutely. Mruto?
I also had a privilege to have worked with him when he was here at some point, so it is a sad day. Yeah.
I've had him on radio, and all I would say is that may the Lord grant the family the peace that surpasses human understanding.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Edward Kari Francis Kwach.
Yep. Jano Kamili. Man who loved his life.
Yes. And Ilakitu.
Yes. He lived.
He lived a full life.
Celebrate him.
Oh, sure.
Yes. But Jeff, speaking of deaths, we also remember those 5 that we lost yesterday.
By the way, did you see that?
That was brutal.
I don't know. The brutality in the country. I think we've cheapened so much life as human life. We have cheapened so much, and I was trying to understand what was the cause of all that fracas, because from what I'm getting is that land, there are 48 families who are living on that land, 10,000 acres land. Yeah. And I don't know, they are claiming that somebody who is powerful wants to grab that land. But there's already a court order saying that the government should not try to subdivide the land, the government should not try to fence the land. And so those families got that order because there has been an issue. They have been living there since 2002. I'm told President Daniel Arap Moi gave them that land. I gave them the titles. And so they have been living there. But they claim that there's somebody who is very powerful who wants to grab that land.
And he's got his own titles.
And he also have the titles. So what started all the fracas yesterday was that the government came in with surveyors. They wanted to fence off the land. Yeah. And you know, residents being residents said, no, you can't do that. You cannot take away our land. And you saw videos of grown-up men crying on videos. It was very sad. And when it started, now it spiraled into something else, because now the locals also attacking the police officers with arrows, and we saw pictures of police officers with arrows on their head. And so it was a very bad thing, and for 5 people to lose their lives for something that can be sorted out in a different manner. Yeah. And I don't know, when does a person get enough and say this is enough for me, or just want to acquire more and more, because the names that are being mentioned are the names of people who have money, they have land, they have properties all over the country.
How much is enough?
How much is enough for people to lose lives, for people to cast your name over and over and over and over? It doesn't.
I had people saying very interesting things, because they were saying it now ended up more like a community fight, because they were saying the people who are being displaced are from the Kalenjin community. The CS Interior is from the Kalenjin community. The alleged new owner of that land is from the Kalenjin community. The policemen who had been sent there to shoot those people were from the Kalenjin community. And the hospitals that were taking care of them were from the Kalenjin community. So it became more like a Kalenjin community affair. And from where I sit, this is a government that is doing exactly what James Orengo said, that it is eating its own people. And it is going to do worse things to its own people than to even the people who did not vote for it. And I can tell you from where I sit, if you were to speak like a tribal politician in Kenya, the Luos have benefited more from this government than the Kalenjins. The people who did not vote for this administration, just as Orengo said, that this administration is going to eat you more, you people who have voted for it, than those people who did not vote for it. It's coming true. It's coming to happen. That those people who did not put this administration in power are now dining, and they are making the best of it, and those who put it in power are crying. That was horrible. That was horrific. I mean, how much land is too much? The good thing is those people have outrightly spoken and they have said who the thief of the land is. And those videos are there for everybody to see. And they know who it is who wants to displace them. And I'll just say to whoever you are, shame on you. It's just enough. Accept that you cannot own the whole country. So just let those communities be. Let those families be. Why is it necessary to get another 10,000 acres? What will you do with it? So I think and I want to thank and congratulate the MP, Johanna Ngeno. That guy is a man. He came, he stood up and he told them, why are you killing people? And he stood up to those policemen and he was not afraid of the bullets. That's the kind of representation we need. Si watu wengine tunachagua wanaenda bunge kufanya exactly what they were not supposed to have done. This guy stood for his people. He stood with his people. He went with them. He went to the hospitals. Johanna Ngeno, wherever you are, I have never met you. I have never seen you. But today on national TV, I congratulate you because of what you did yesterday.
What is happening in the country is that we are every other day perfecting the art of brutal evictions of citizens from wherever it is that we need them out of. We have seen this happen from every other place. Anytime it is matters eviction, it never ends well. And we don't learn from even those that have happened before. So it was not surprising that that is what they could do to those innocent people. And we just want to hope that whoever it is that gave the orders to go do this that happened, we want to hope that this time round, five people being shot by police because those are the people who had guns and they died by gunshots. It is unimaginable that in this government that they prided themselves in saying they will not use forceful means to evict people.
It was one of his promises.
Yeah, it was one of the promises. But that is exactly what they are doing. And doing everything they ever promised Kenyans. Very unfortunate. Speaking
of killers, guys, I know you've seen that BBC documentary.
Yes.
In fact, I think it's on the front page of the Standard.
Yes.
Killers in uniform.
Yes. A person has a right to picket. You have a right to life. You have a right to life is one of the most fundamental rights that you cannot take away from anybody. For police to shoot people, people who are not armed, people who are not posing any threat to anybody, and shoot to kill. And what BBC has done, the problem with our country is that we forget so fast, and we think that those are just numbers. 5 people have died, 30 died, or 60 died during the Gen Z demonstrations. We think they're just numbers. They're not just numbers. Those are people who come from families. Those are sons of who belong to a mother who is crying somewhere. What BBC has done is to humanize that story, because we thought it's just numbers. That at some point they were called criminals, but what BBC has done is that they have given a human face. Even that University of Nairobi student who was shot. He was a happy fella who, when he was not on the street, he was doing his own things. The 39-year-old who was shot was a father. They have humanized that story, and for people then to, it was supposed to be screened, and the government said no, you can't screen because they are trying to gag what BBC has done. But the problem with this government is that it's forgetting that by now almost each and every Kenyan has watched that thing.
Exactly.
Because by 9 a.m. yesterday it was trending almost everywhere. People were calling me from the village, tuma your video now, tume bundles. Watch that. So natuma video alafu natuma bundle. So, yes, people have watched that thing. Almost each and every Kenyan has watched that thing, and it just shows you that our institutions are not working. This is something that IPOA says they have been investigating for the last 1 year. And after that video yesterday, after that expose yesterday, they gave out a statement saying, we have investigated so much cases, we have done 22 cases, we have done. It doesn't add up, because by now people should be, facing some charges in court. Those people who died, those are human lives.
Absolutely. Mambo.
The most annoying thing is the angle of shooting. It's one thing to shoot, but that young man, the first one who was shot in the back. He was running away. So completely, this person was going to be harmless. How do you shoot a person who is running away from you? And he has not stolen. You know, you can have a thief, he's running away with your stolen gold. But this guy had nothing. To start with, that is no weapon. And 2, he was shot in the back. So he was posing absolutely no harm. And that's why they called it blood parliament. Because blood was spilled on the grounds of parliament. And actually, the most disturbing thing is now the question of that legislator who was sitting in parliament and passing finance bill. Ako hapo anasema ipitishwe to the next stage. And they could hear the noise that was going on outside. Kama kuna Mkenya atapanga line achague one of those MPs in any constituency, shame on you as a Kenyan. Because that's where I should start. I think the punishment that we need to meet on all those MPs, it is those people who were in parliament and saying, let us continue. You remember, there were protests on Tuesday, and members of parliament passed it anyway. And then now the Thursday one, which was now the penultimate one, it was still going on. It's not like these members of parliament were not aware of what was going on outside. But they would go ahead and pass it and then start running away through that tunnel yenye walitengenezewa huko. So for me, I think the reward that we as Kenyans owe to every other person is from wherever you are in whatever constituency. Let us agree that the only way to pay back for the lives of Kenyans that were lost is to punish every single MP who voted for that finance bill, regardless of who they are today. We must hold them to account. And the only way to hold them to account is to say, out of the 290 constituencies, let us mark everybody who voted for that finance bill and voted yes. Because young people were dying when they were doing it. And once we mark who they are, make sure they never come back. I think that's the best gift we can give to Kenyans. Because that will be a good... You see, we keep thinking that we are powerless. We keep thinking there's nothing we can do. I do not have the powers to arrest the police. I can only talk about, IPOA do this, DCI do this. But eventually there's one power we have. So that those MPs become a lesson to every other person who will want in future to do things against Mwananchi.
In fact, the reason why so many went to stream the documentary was... for that they could not do as Kenyans, identifying some of those people that perpetrated the ills. But it was something that was not difficult to believe. The most annoying thing is we have Kenyans who are posing questions that are not supposed to be posed about what has been revealed by BBC. If someone wants to ask whether they gave the government any right of reply in their right minds, and some of these people that are asking these questions are people who are at the time on the side of Gen Zs, but because right now they are in the broad-based government, they want to ask questions that don't make sense, questioning on the professionalism of how the documentary was put together. I am repeating, this was not difficult to understand or to believe by any Kenyan because we were there in the situation. Most of us, some of us were in the middle of that gunfire. So for anyone to start asking questions that do not make sense for Kenyans, questioning the credibility of the documentary, when we only wanted to see the identity, to get to know the identity. Like myself, the most curious thing I went to watch the documentary for is to find out these people that were pulling the triggers. At least now I have an idea of some of them that did this. We should be, as Kenyans, moving towards asking, so how do we hold to account these people that took part in this, and not the other way around, trying to make it look like someone was sent to paint the government in bad light, when we all know that is exactly what happened to Kenyans.
Jeff, I was there, and I counted 4 bodies. The 4 bodies that I myself saw. 4 bodies that I counted.
Just lying there on the pavement,
yes,
on the road.
One, the bullet had gone through the head, and the whole brain was, scattered down there. There are some things you see and you can't unsee them. And because you are trained as a journalist, you have to be there. You at some point I was even overwhelmed by the smoke of the tear gas, and I almost fainted actually. But that's not the point. The point is that it happened. We try to forget. We try to move on as a country and think that things are gone back to be normal. That person, that mother who lost his kid, life has never gone back to being normal, because that loss is permanent. And for you even to try and say that the property was being destroyed and all those things, you cannot compare property to a person's life. And I just hope that I want to hope, but I am not so hopeful like Murutu says, because I doubt if any action is going to be taken on that KDF officer that was identified. I doubt if any action is going to be taken to that officer from Central, who even his name has been mentioned, who was shouting, "Wow, wow." I doubt if there is any action that is going to be taken against those. The problem is that we have normalized lawlessness so much so that we believe, people just move on. The authorities just assume that people will forget, and something else will come up tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be a scandal in Barakoi, and 5 people will die, and people will forget about GNZ. The other day there is going to be a scandal of how Kenyans were duped of going to jobs in Maju, alafu hawaendi, and people now will focus on that thing. It's so annoying, such that what annoys me most is that people think that those are just the numbers. Those are just numbers, that 6 to a day, 6 died, and so we move on. We can't continue living.
It's pathetic.
I think somebody has an answer to everything that happened, and he simplified it very well. He said he's a photo expert, and what you people are seeing is edited, is Photoshop. According to KJ, everything that happened, even these things from the BBC,
it's Photoshop.
It's Photoshop. Those people, he said, is metadata. He's an expert, and what was happening on the streets on Gen Zs was Photoshop. When we have such people, and he's not the only one. I have seen one on national TV today. He's on Citizen Uko. I watched him. I got here very early. And he's busy defending government for shooting people. Shame on him. He's on Citizen right now. He's just defending government. And he's saying that he thinks that what happened needed to happen.
Those ones,
that those were goons.
You call them out.
So no, he's on. So just guys will just look at Citizen and they'll see
like
him
Kaluma
there.
Yesterday, what Kaluma was saying is pathetic.
I sat one time, let me say, because you've mentioned Kaluma, I sat one time on a show with Kaluma on another different station when the first demonstrations were happening, not these ones. And I remember that time was when they were being told they had hired bodies. And the emotions, they had hired bodies to go and parade them at City Mortuary and so on. Because he had just come from Kisumu and he had witnessed how many young people had been killed in Kondele. The ones who were being removed from their houses at night and being shot. And so it was so emotive for him to hear another legislator. That time we were with Kagombe telling him that those were fake things that they had. And Kaluma got so emotional, he left the station. It's on record. He left the station because of what was said on that day. Now for him to then turn around and start supporting the same administration that is killing people like that, I feel so bad, and I wish somebody needs to go and call Kaluma, put him in a room and just call him to order and tell him, Kaluma, you are losing it. This is not the right thing to do, and somebody needs to help him. I think after you taste Kenya Kwanza money, something just happens. You are no longer the same person.
Muruto.
We have very serious people who were behind Gen Zs at the time.
Yes.
But when you listen to them right now, you feel like relocating to some other planet that is not where they you can't cohabit with them in the same planet. And therefore, I think the broad-based syndrome is spiraling out of order, out of control for some of these people that we thought were sensible then, that are now turning out to be just praise and worship kind of
psychophancy.
Yes.
Psychophancy.
There are other ODM MPs who are a little bit sober. They could be supporting the government, yes, but they are not as psychophantic as he is. Because and sometimes you wonder with these politicians, when you are with Baba, you must know that afai kwenda sana, because if tomorrow Baba can say Kenya Kwanza is bad. Sasa tena you turn again to start saying how bad Kenya Kwanza is, because Baba himself is sending mixed signals. He's attacking the government. He's saying CDF should not be there. He's saying Kera money should go to counties. He's openly defying President William Ruto when they are together on the same podium. And you as an MP, instead of reading the signs of time, you are head and neck into the government. You can't think beyond the fact that you are in government. And so far I've not seen what he has benefited from this government, because he was in the speaker's panel. He's still in the speaker's panel. He has not been given any position in parliament as a chair or a deputy chair of a committee. So I wonder why he's such a
Madils.
Wamepata kitu. Kuna kitu.
Hata kama at times you don't sell your soul. You look at whatever that because, for example, and it's not something that cannot happen. Baba can say tomorrow, hii kitu ni mbofu. Hii Kenya Kwanza, I've tried to help them, they can't be helped. I'm gone. And so Kaluma will again change now, start saying Gen Z are good, BBC did a good expose. Sometimes it's good to, na kama unakula, just shut up.
Sometimes this show is too serious sometimes. And sometimes we forget the little small things that make this life very interesting. There's this military officer who they said was in the barracks by mistake. And he had been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
And literally I said, okay, let us just compose a song for KDF because we believe in what they say. And it is very simple. So the response is, I believe. And it's very simple. An imposter in the army, I believe. He had no training, however, I believe. He was marching by mistake, I believe. He was drinking tax-free beer, I believe. He had fake troop numbers, I believe. He was on payroll by mistake, I believe. Yes. Yes. I believe. Yes.
By the way,
yes.
How was he discovered?
You see, how do you tell us that there's a military officer amekuwa akienda mashujade ana march huko by mistake, he carries a gun by mistake, he has a troop number by mistake, he's on the payroll by mistake, he anaendanga hata Madaraka Day, hata president akifanya guard of honor anamuinspect anamuona na akona fake troop number. I think we believe that's why we had to sing for them that song. He was even drinking tax-free beer ile ya AFCO huko. The total of what we got from China,
yes,
initially they had said 16 billion, then they realized kuna siku waliiba kwa e-citizen 15 billion overnight, so wakaona ni kidogo, so then they decided to tell us it's about 100 billion, which is what we gave out for SHA.
100B.
Yeah, 104 actually.
104.
Just to procure a system.
Yeah.
So why do you want to spend 104 billion procuring a system that we cannot touch with our hands and then go and beg for 100 billion in China? It was a huge embarrassment for us as a country. Yani pesa ya kujenga Navy Bridge tunaendea China. I mean, if you think about the economy of Meru, hata ungeambia tu wa Meru tunataka kujenga Navy Bridge, believe you me, tungepata pesa ya kujenga Navy Bridge. So it was a shame for us as a country. I mean, which other president is out there globetrotting? The Tanzanian president is at home, Museveni is at home, Kagame is at home, all other African presidents are working from home. Ours is the only one who is in China. Mara is in Rome. By the way, there was a time he was lost in Italy. Sijui kama mliona wakizunguka huko wa streets na akina Wetangula, no bodyguards. They were looking so misplaced.
Once you are sold hope, Jeff, you believe ukishajua tu naweza enda majuu, na ukue umejaribu na ikaingiana kidogo, you will always want to try. Mimi nilijaribu kuwa jeshi for 3 times.
Wewe
nikashindwa kufunga macho moja. So you always reject because
he never used to wink at girls, this guy.
Afadhali mimi nilijaribu lakini hawakuwahi niita nifike kufinya hata macho. Yeye alifika na akashindwa kufinya macho
mara 3 huko. I tried all those things. So
but now you'd not have your beard, so it's okay.
So once you try something, you want to keep on trying. And the sad thing is that it happens so much so that unarudia tu, amefanya maybe 50,000 atarudisha, auze baiskeli ile motorbike. Unajua siku hizi motorbike is the wealthiest thing one can have in the village. Saini kuwa na motorbike because unapata pesa, unabeba boda, communication, transport, utaenda haraka. So having a motorbike ni kama siku zetu kuanga na bike ilikuanga very prestigious thing.
Yes.
But now
Black Mamba.
Having a motorbike nowadays is the in thing.
When it's tajiri.
And so you are forced to sell that.
And that's your source of livelihood.
Yes.
Alfred Mutua is one creative guy in this country.
Yeah, remember Cobra Squad?
Yes, he's one creative guy. When he stood in front of cameras and gave hope to Kenyans, you can easily buy into his stories, but see what is happening to Kenyans. And that is what they will do. After Mutua has been used and no Kenyan can believe him anymore, they will look around for another good Fanyamambo, and then they will pick him up and they will put him there. When Fanyamambo, who has been saying good things on Hot 96 on the docket, comes and says, now this one is the real deal, Kenyans will believe. They will go that direction again, get themselves into these kinds of problems.
And Buya, you're the one who just said this is all these are distractions for 2027.
They're distractions. Zote. Sahi shule zimefunguliwa.
Yeah. Na hakuna pesa bana.
For example, the schools are open. Principals
wametoa bursary na KG.
Schools are asking how do we take care of the kids, because you have not given us money and you are telling us you cannot send them away, and you cannot tell parents mulipe fee hapa na hapa, because principals are becoming more and more creative, because you cannot say it with boys. For example, boys high school, na uambie leo hakuna, tunakunywanga chai ya maziwa lakini leo hakuna maziwa because serikali haijatuma pesa. Hiyo shule itaungua.
Correct.
And so the principals are between a very hard place and a rock and a very hard place, because now how do you manage to take care of the schools? Last term they were forced to close early because pesa haikuwa. The government has not released the money. They are fighting over bursary. Governors want to give bursary to high school kids and college kids. That's not their constitutional mandate. They should focus on TVETs and shule ya chekechea. That's what the constitution demands of them. But now they don't want that. They want to do high school and Fanyamambo has been on this for the longest time. Why can't we coalesce all these monies that are being given as bursary in one kitty and just say education is free from nursery school
all the way
to
so that we don't require anyone to say, yes, I will give you bursary.
Because that money is enough. That money is enough. Jeff, ukichukua pesa yenye napewa bursary kama NGCDF, by the way pia wajapewa MPs.
Wajapata?
Walipata kidogo.
Ile Mbadi alikuwa ajitetea atoke bunge. They were supposed to kukatalia pale bungeni.
Correct.
So NGCDF gives money. NGAF gives bursary. Governors give bursary. MCAs give bursary. The president gives bursary. Kitu yote and the little that we get ile capitation na peananga capitation to schools. Why can't we put that money together and say education is free from nursery to college?
When we got independence, those people who
60 how many years ago?
Yes, those people who left this country, the Mzungu, they left us with what now is being offered at the premier schools, the IGCSE. They left us with that. In fact, I remember my dad walifanya hiyo ilikuwa inaitwa Cambridge School Certificate. Lakini wako wanaweza kusema Cambridge, wakikuwa walikuwa wanasema Kiberereki School Certificate. But that was what was there. If we had not transitioned from that, I tell you Kenya would be too far. Because tulienda tukatengeneza ile ya Kenyatta, ile CPE, tukakuja ujinga ya 844, tukakuja ujinga ingine ya CBC and so on and so forth. But as Nani was talking about bursaries, you have seen people now. The other day, I hear there's an MP who was being said he spent 5 million to give 3 million. So much pomp, so much color, so much tents, chairs, sound system. And these people have to come and fill those tents. Do you know why?
Of course.
Because they are so desperate. And then imagine, waliekwa from 8 in the morning, walikuwa napatiwa check 6 in the evening, na unapatiwa 3,000 shillings. So you go home as a wife to explain why you're making supper late for your husband. You say nilikuwa nimeenda cook you for bursary.
All day.
Na all day unapatiwa 3,000 shillings. and the MPs make themselves look like demigods, and this is across the country. Cause hiyo siku ya bursary, now they want you to look up to him, na anapatia wale watu wanampigianga kura, ama wale watu wanaambia nyinyi na mimi nikiwapatia kwa mtandao muende kwa mkambia watu mimi ni mzuri. And that is why we need to remove this bursary thing, because the MP is using it as a means of self edification, which is wrong. And sasa unajua pia it's very dehumanizing. Imagine watu wanakaa hivi sasa wanasema wanaume wengine wote wako kazi, yule mmoja ndio ameenda kuqueue for a whole day, hana 3000 amekaa hapo. It dehumanizes you because it makes you feel like you're a lesser human being. Wewe umeenda kungojea pesa ya kupewa, kama sio hiyo mtoto wako hawezi soma. It's very bad. Na mnapigwa picha mkipewa cheki na yako ati sasa huyu alipanga the whole day apatiwe 3000. Yani hata watu wakiona huko ushago na ulikuja Nairobi tumepanga line hapa Dagoretti North ama South ama wherever Embakasi ulikuwa na queue for 3000. Anasema usiengekaa tu ushago, hiyo ni gunia moja ya mahindi auze
au uende kwa mjengo.
Yes,
get more money.